So there's many SAT questions on the topic of subject-verb agreement. Let's talk about the best strategy to approach these questions. So first of all, you have to understand that subjects and verbs can be singular or plural, and they both are singular or they both are plural. So I think it's common knowledge that a singular subject, such as boy, does not have an S at the end. And a plural subject, such as boys, becomes plural by putting an S on the end. And of course, there's irregulars, but the regular words, right, work like this with the S. The verbs also come in singular and plural, and they are the opposite. So the boy plays, the singular verb gets the S. And that's what I always remind myself, because on the SAT, I'm always looking at the verbs and trying to figure out if they are singular or plural. And I remind myself that the singular gets the S. The plural does not get the S, right? The boys play. In other words, when you have a subject and verb together, there's only one S. It's either on the subject, then it would be plural, or it's on the verb, then it would be singular. Okay, so what we're going to do on these particular subject-verb agreement questions, the options will be the verbs, and we're going to have 4 different verbs when we scan those options, and we're going to look at those and determine for each verb if it's singular or plural. So we didn't even read the sentence yet. We looked at the options first. Not always, but sometimes you'll have 3 of one and just 1 of the other. So you might have 3 singulars and 1 plural, or 3 plurals and 1 singular. When this happens, the answer is extremely likely to be what I call the odd man out, the one of the kind answer, right? And so I think that's my prediction. I think it's true, but of course, I'm just going to make sure by reading the sentence and finding the subject, right, and connecting that subject and verb to make sure that they're either both singular or both plural. Let's take a look at 2 sample questions here. So we have this question about Georgia O'Keeffe, but do not read the question. Read the options first. I always want you going to the options first. And we see that the options are verbs. And as soon as we see that, we're going to start thinking about singular versus plural. Were is plural. Is singular. Have been is plural. Are is plural. So I would guess that B is going to be the answer, right? I have not yet even read the question, but I think B is going to be the answer. Of course. I'm going to read the question now to see if I'm right. Interestingly, the rock formation representing the region's geological history, blank among the few recognizable shapes, I think it's going to be is. And the subject is the rock formation. Yeah, and that's singular, and the verb is singular. B is the answer, right? So we can see there's a lot of extra words here. This is how the SAT makes the question harder. Representing the region's geological history, all of those words are there to go between the subject and the verb, right? To distract you from your ear being able to tell if the subject, rock formation, and verb is, if they really do go together. They do, but having our prediction in advance made it a lot easier than just reading the sentence. Let's try the next one. This time I'm going to give you a minute. All right, please pause the video. Take a moment to look at all 4 options first, categorize them as singular or plural, and then predict the odd man out. Then take a moment to read the sentence and see if your prediction is correct. All right, hopefully you had time to do all of that. Now let's do it together. Remember, singular gets the S. So when you see this pattern, face and faces, you're very likely looking at one of these types of questions. When you have the same verb, one with and one without that letter S, remember the singular gets the S. Has is singular, was is singular. I would guess B as a prediction because it's the odd man out. Let me go and read it. I'm looking to see, is there a plural subject? Due to the deleterious effects, look at that, of ocean acidification, marine organisms that depend on calcium carbonate for their shells or skeletons. Oh, here's another one. Face, a bleak future. Yeah, effects is a plural noun, but it is not the subject that we're looking for here, right? Is organisms that we're looking on. Organisms face, yeah, B is the correct answer. My prediction got me there without even reading the sentence. The reading the sentence was just the double check here. All right. You might be wondering, like, how can I tell at a glance if a verb is singular or plural? So here we go. If you see is, that's singular. If you see are, that's plural. If you see has, always singular. Have, always plural. The singular gets the S. The plural is missing the S. So those are the ones you really want to focus on. Also focus on was versus were. Was is always singular, were is always plural. When we get into the other tenses, like has versus have, that is the same as in the present tense, right? When you look at future tenses and these past perfects with has, you'll notice there's no difference. It's the same verb, whether it's singular or plural. So you'll see when you look at the four options, these are not going to be included as options. Also, if you look at like the ed words, planted and planted, it doesn't matter if it's singular or plural, it's still the same word. So you're not going to see those options when they're subject verb agreement questions. If you do, you're not going to be able to predict it because you don't know if it's singular or plural at a glance, right? So sometimes when you see like futures like will be, or those past perfects like had been, or even the future perfects will have been, it's really a tense question. It's not a subject verb agreement question. The ones that I have circled in blue, those are the ones you see over and over on these kind of questions. Okay, we will talk about tense next because that definitely does come up. I'll see you in the next video for that.